Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Sit down, please. I'd like to speak English today too, to improve my speaking skill. Let's get it started. Today, it is June 25th, 2022. I really did it myself. I really did it by myself. I did do it by myself. I did do it. I did do it by myself. I did close the door when left the room. I did close the window when I left the room. I did turn off the air conditioner when I left the room. I did turn off the air conditioner. 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 Every employee tried to stave off his resignation, but he was determined to resign to pursue his next career. All of the employees tried to stave off his resignation, but he was determined to resign to pursue his next career. No matter how hard you try to stave off me from pursuing my dreams, you cannot stop me. You cannot hold me back. You don't have to stave off what you wanna do. You don't have to stave off what you wanna do. If you are really into that, you should do that. Do you think the blocks can stave off tsunami? Do you think the blocks along the beach will stave off the tsunami? Do you think the height of the blocks alongside the beach will stave off tsunami? Do you think the height of the blocks along the beach is high enough to stave off tsunami? Do you think the height of the blocks along the beach is high enough to stave off tsunami? Do you think the height of the bank along the beach is high enough to stave off the tsunami? Do you think the height of the bank along the beach is high enough to stave off the tsunami? How can I stave off the natural disaster? How can we stave off natural disaster? How can we stave off the natural disaster? How can we stave off the natural disaster? How can we stave off the natural disaster? Natural disaster. How can we stave off the natural disaster? How can we stave off the natural disaster? The boss couldn't stave off his anger and hit the desk. The boss couldn't resist the temptation and went to the bar. I couldn't resist the temptation and I went to the restaurant in the middle of the midnight. The boss couldn't stave off his anger and hit the desk. The boss couldn't stave off his anger and hit the desk. The boss couldn't stave off his anger and hit the desk. Everyone's attempts could not stave off his will. The cops couldn't stave off the crime. The cops couldn't stave off the crime of him. The bank along the beach couldn't stave off the tsunami. The bank along the beach couldn't stave off tsunami. The bank along the beach could not stave off the tsunami. The bank along the beach could not stave off the tsunami. What do you think can stave off the tsunami? What do you think can stop the tsunami? What do you think can stop the tsunami? What do you think can stave off tsunami, earthquakes, or natural disaster? What do you think can stave off the natural disaster? What do you think can stave off the natural disasters? What do you think can stave off the natural disasters? What do you think can stave off natural disasters? What do you think can stave off natural disasters? What do you think can stave off the natural disasters? What do you think can stave off the natural disasters? What do you think can stave off the natural disasters? What do you think can stave off natural disasters? What do you think can stave off natural disasters? What do you think can stave off natural disasters? Stave off. Stave off that. 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 Stave off his wrongdoing. Stave off his wrongdoing right now. Stave off his wrongdoing. Stave off his wrongdoing. Stave off his wrongdoing. Stave off his wrongdoing. Catastrophic tsunami hit the region. Catastrophic earthquake hit the region. Catastrophic earthquake hit Japan in 2011. Catastrophic earthquake struck Japan in 2011. I hope catastrophic natural disasters will not happen in the future. Catastrophic. 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 I hope catastrophic natural disasters will not happen, will not arise, will not arouse, will not come out. Catastrophic earthquake hit Japan in 2011. Catastrophic earthquake hit Japan, struck Japan in 2011. Catastrophic, 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 catastrophic. His typing speed of the keyboard is breakneck, 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 breakneck. His typing speed of the keyboard is breakneck. No one can type the keyboard as fast as him. No one can type the keyboard as fast as him. No one can type the keyboard as fast as him. His typing speed of the keyboard is breakneck, 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 breakneck. Breakneck, 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 breakneck. His typing speed so breakneck, breakneck. He drives his car breakneck, so breakneck. His driving speed is so breakneck. His running speed is very breakneck. His driving speed is very breakneck, breakneck. He ran to the train station at breakneck speed. He ran to the train station at breakneck, lest he should be late for the train, in case he should be late for the train, for fear that he should be late for the train. He ran to the train station at breakneck speed, at breakneck speed. He ran to the train station at breakneck speed. Breakneck, 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 breakneck. Sometimes the caster is capped up to 5,000 at once to maintain the spaciousness inside. Sometimes The amusement park is sometimes capped up to 10,000. The amusement park is capped up to 1,000, 10,000, depending on the day. Due to the pandemic, the concert hall is capped up to 5,000 guests at once. Due to the pandemic, the concert hall is capped up to 5,000, up to 5,000. Due to the pandemic, the concert hall is capped up to 5,000. Let's cap the capacity. Let's cap the number of guests we can accept. Let's cap the number of guests we can accept in the castle in a day. The government capped the number of guests who are allowed to enter at once. The government capped the number of people who can enter a facility at once. The government capped the number of people who are allowed to enter the facility at once. The government capped the number of people who can enter a facility at once. The government capped the number of people who can enter a facility at once. The government capped the number of people who can enter a room at once. The concert hall is now capped up to 5,000 people. The concert hall is capped up to 5,000 people now. The concert hall is capped up to 5,000. The head of the concert hall capped the number of guests who can enter the hall at once, up to 5,000 people. The guests are capped up to 5,000 at the hall. Guests are capped up to 5,000 at the hall. Guests are capped up to 5,000 in the hall. The number of guests is capped up to 5,000 in the hall. The number of guests are capped up to 5,000 in the hall. The number of guests are capped at the concert hall. The concert hall is capped up to 5,000 at the moment. They capped the concert hall up to 5,000. The amusement park is capped up to 10,000. The museum is capped up to 10,000. The museum is capped up to 10,000 for time being. The number of guests into the museum is capped up to 10,000. The number of people into the museum is capped up to 5,000. The number of guests into the concert hall is capped up to 5,000. The number of people into the castle is capped up to 20,000. The number of guests who are allowed to enter the concert hall is capped up to 5,000. The number of people who are allowed to enter the concert hall is capped 5,000. The number of people into the facility is capped up to 5,000. The number of guests into the facility is capped up to 5,000. The number of guests into the concert hall is capped up to 5,000. The rule is set down in the law. The law is set down. The law is set down. The rule is set down on the board. The new policy will be set down on the bulletin board. The new rule will be set down in the bulletin board. The new rules will be set down by the council, by the municipal council. The new rules, the new ordinances will be set down at the conference of the municipal council. The new policy will be set down at the conference of the municipal council. The new ordinances will be set down. The new ordinances will be set down at the conference of municipal council. Municipal council. At the municipal council. The new ordinances will be set down at the municipal council. Council. Municipal council. The notorious law was set down by the notorious top. The notorious law was set down. The students were setting down what the professor was explaining on the whiteboard. The students were trying to set down what the professor was explaining. The new ordinances will be set down at the council. The new ordinances will be set down at the municipal council. The new ordinances will be set down at the municipal council. Municipal council. What you cannot do is set down in the law. What you cannot do is set down in the law. The rules are set down in the treaty. The due date is set down in the contract. The due date is set down in the treaty contract. The due date is set down in the treaty. The due date is set down in the contract. The due date is set down in the contract. The due date is set down in the contract. The deployment of the volunteers was delayed due to the inclement weather. The deployment of the volunteers were delayed due to the inclement weather. The deployment of food and drinks were in a hurry, in haste. The deployment of the volunteers the deployment of the volunteers is in a hurry, in haste. The deployment of the volunteers helped many people in the region. Helped many people in the region. The deployment of police officers around the region helped and kept the peace in the region. The deployment of police officers into the region kept the peace, helped citizens to live safely, helped the people to live safely, helped the people to live safely. The deployment of police officers into the region helped the citizens to live safely. The deployment of police officers into the region helped the citizens live safely. Helped the region. Helped the citizens live safely. Helped the citizens live safely. The deployment of cops into the region helped the citizens live safely. 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 The deployment of some police officers and police stations into the region kept the peace. Thanks to the deployment of police stations and police officers into the region, which helped citizens live safely. Thanks to the deployment of police officers and police stations into the region, which helped the citizens live safely. Fossil fuels are powering many objects, many vehicles, machines in the world. We heavily rely on fossil fuels. We heavily rely on fossil fuels. We heavily rely on fossil fuels. We heavily rely on fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, gas, and so on. We heavily rely on fossil fuels. Climate change is serious now. Due to the climate change, the average temperature is changing. Due to the climate change and global warming, the course the typhoons take is changing. What do you think of global warming? If the global warming accelerates at this rate, what will it be like? What will the Earth be like? If the global warming continues to accelerate at this rate, what will the Earth be like? There were some targets I want to achieve last year. Two of the three were accomplished perfectly, successfully, but one of them I failed. So I'd like to deliver the one goal this year. Which I failed last year. I achieved two of the three goals. I delivered two of the three goals last year, and I'd like to deliver the one goal this year. There were three targets I wanted to deliver, and I delivered two of the three targets. This year, I'd like to deliver the last target this year. Are you familiar with electric things? Are you versed with electric things? Electric. Electric engineer. Electric gadgets. Some people like electric gadgets. Technology is advancing rapidly, Technology is advancing so rapidly. I cannot keep up with the new technologies. I cannot keep pace with new technologies. Many people cannot keep up with new technologies. Many people cannot keep pace with new technologies. Many people are lagging behind new technologies. Many people are lagging behind new technologies. Many people are falling behind new technologies. Thanks to the public transportation, we can move comfortably. There are many public transportation in Tokyo and Osaka, but there are little public transportation in countryside. Some public transportations are not frequently used, and some of them have deficit. Do you usually use public transportation, or do you commute by your car? Do you usually use public transportation? Do you usually use the public transportation? Do you usually use the public transportation, or do you own your car? Public transportation. One of my favorite things to do in foreign countries is to use the public transportation. It's fun to enjoy the view from the window of trains or a bus. One of my favorite things in foreign countries. One of my favorite things to do in foreign countries is to enjoy the view from the window of public transportation, such as bus and trains. But if I'm really tired, I might sleep. The company is thinking of expansion into a foreign country. The company is thinking about the expansion into another country. Business expansion is not necessarily successful. Business expansion is not necessarily successful. The company is thinking about expansion its business into a foreign country. The company expanded its business into 2 or 3 foreign countries. The company is rapidly expanding. The company is rapidly expanding. The scientists warned us that such a big earthquake might happen within 30 years. The scientists warned that such a big earthquake might arise in 30 years, within 30 years. He warned that. The scientists warned. The scientists have warned. The scientists have warned that the big earthquake might happen within 30 years. The scientists have warned that the typhoon might approach the coast area faster than expected, faster than predicted. The scientists have warned that the typhoons might take a different course than usual this year due to the climate change, climatic variation. Scientists have warned that the typhoon might take wrong courses due to the climate change this year. The scientists have warned that the typhoons might take wrong directions, wrong courses than usual this year. Tsunami warning was issued. Tsunami warning was issued earlier than usual because of the lessons we learned in the past. The warning was issued by mistake by the siren. It was a mistake of the public servant. The tsunami warning was issued by mistake. The scientists have warned that the typhoons might take a wrong course due to the climatic variation. The scientists have warned that the typhoons this year might take different courses than usual. The scientists have warned that the typhoons might take different courses than usual. That the scientists have warned that the strength of typhoons have been stronger and stronger. The scientists have warned that the strength of typhoons have been stronger and stronger. The scientists have warned that the big earthquake might strike Japan within 30 years. The earthquake is called Nankai Torafu Daijishin. Nankai Torafu big earthquake. It's expected to arise within 30 years by the prediction, but we are not sure if it is true or not. I hope earthquake will not happen forever, for good. The approaching of the typhoon was warned. The approaching of the typhoon into the region was warned. The acceleration of the typhoon was warned. Heavy rains in the region was warned. Car accident in the expressway was warned. Acceleration of the typhoon was warned. The creation of the new typhoon was warned. The creation of the new typhoon in the Pacific Ocean was warned. The creation of the new typhoon was warned. The new creation of the typhoon was warned. The new creation of the typhoon in the Pacific Ocean was warned. It was warned that the typhoon is approaching the coast. It was warned that the typhoon is approaching the coast. It has been warned that the typhoon is approaching the coast. It was warned that the typhoon is approaching the coast. It was warned that the typhoon was approaching the coastline. Some entrepreneurs want that. Some entrepreneurs want that. Some entrepreneurs want that. Some entrepreneurs want that. Volcanic eruption was warned. Imminent volcanic eruptions were warned. Heavy rain was warned. Heavy rain is warned. Heavy rain has been warned in the region. Heavy rain has been warned. Heavy rain has been warned in the region. Heavy rain has been warned. Heavy rain has been warned. The scientists warned the dangerous situation of the economy. Some people warned how dangerous it is. Some people warned how dangerous swimming in the sea is. Some people warned the danger of swimming in the sea when typhoon is approaching? The weather forecast warned the approaching of the typhoon. The weather forecast warned the approaching of the typhoon. The weather forecast warned the approaching of typhoon. Warn the approaching of typhoon. Tsunami warning was issued. 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 Some specialists have warned that the typhoons might take different courses this year. Some specialists have warned that the typhoons might take different courses than usual this year. Some specialists have warned that the typhoons might take different courses than usual. Some specialists have warned that the typhoons might take different courses than usual. Some specialists have warned that the typhoons might take different courses than usual. The car has a capacity of housing 8 people. The car has a capacity of housing 8 people. The hotel has a capacity of housing 200 people. The cruise ship has a capacity of housing 200 guests. She has a capacity of speaking 4 foreign languages. She has a capacity of speaking 4 foreign languages. The car has a capacity of housing 8 people. The kid has a capacity of speaking 4 foreign languages. The cruise ship has the capacity of housing 300 guests. The dome has a capacity of housing 50,000 people. The huge hall has the capacity of housing 50,000 people. The hard disk has a capacity of 1 terabyte. The hard disk has a capacity of 1 terabyte. The hard disk has a capacity of 1 terabyte. The hard disk has a capacity of 2 terabyte. I wish I were as capable as genius people. I wish I were as capable as genius people. I wish I were as capable as genius people. I wish I were as genius as capable of people. If I were as capable as you, I would challenge that. I will try that. If I had been as capable as you, I wouldn't have missed it. I wouldn't have failed it. I wouldn't have failed it. I could have done that by myself. If I were as capable as you, I wouldn't have failed that. I wouldn't have felt that. If I were as capable as you, I wouldn't have felt that. If I had been as capable as you at that time, I wouldn't have felt that. I wouldn't have felt that. I could have done that. I could have done that. The kid is capable of speaking 4 foreign languages. The machine is capable of producing 10,000 same goods, 10,000 units of the goods. The machine is capable of producing 10,000 goods. The machine is capable of producing 10 pieces of candy a day. The machine is capable of producing 10,000 candies in a day. Some people are capable of speaking 4 foreign languages. The capability of speaking English is very demanded in the globalization. The capability of speaking English is very requested, demanded in globalization. The capability of speaking English is very important. The capability of speaking English is very important. The capability of speaking English is very important. English capability is very important. Capability of using computer is necessary. Capability of programming is very important. I still continue to study English. I still continue studying English. I still continue studying English. I still continue studying English. I still continue to study English. I never stop. I stick to my policy. I stick with my policy. Some people prefer the sound of vinyl record than digital sound. Some people prefer the record sound than digital sound because the record sound is continuous. My studying style is continuous, seamless, continuous, because I never take a break. My studying style is like continuous, except for lunchtime. My studying style is continuous except for lunchtime. His accomplishments were continuous, so which surprised everybody. His accomplishments were continuous, so which surprised everybody. The continuous mistakes made everybody angry. His continuous wrongdoing led to his resignation. His continuous complaints made everybody angry. His continuous complaints about his boss led to his transferring to another department. The continuous rainy days made me feel depressed. The continuous rainy days made me feel depressed. The continuous mistakes made the company lost that made the company lose its trust. The continuous flaws in the cars of the company made its company lose its trust. His being late for the workplace is continual. Rainy days are continual in this region. Rain is continual in this region. Being late for the workplace is continual for him. Being late for the workplace is continual for him. Being late for the workplace is continual for him. Continual for him. Being late for the workplace is continual for him. Being late for the workplace is continual for him. Continual. Frequent. Continual. Continual mistake of the employee led to his transferring to another department. Continual his negligence at the workplace led to his resignation, led to his firing, led to his layoff. His continual negligence led to his layoff. Continual. His negligence is continual. His negligence is continual. His negligence at work is continual. Rain is continual in this region. 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 Continual. Rain is continual in this region. 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 Continual. Rain is continual in this region. 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 Eating at McDonald's is continual for him. Eating at McDonald's is continual for him. continuity is very important. Some people like the sound of the continuity of vinyl record. Some people like the continual sound of a vinyl record. Continuous sound of the vinyl record. Some people prefer the continuous sound of the vinyl record. Continuity. The continuity of his accomplishment surprised everybody. The continuity of his accomplishment surprised everybody. The continuity of the coincidence surprised everybody. The continuity of the coincidences surprised me. The continuity of the coincidences surprised me. The continuity of the coincidences made me surprised. The continuity of the coincidence made me surprised. The continuity of the coincidences made me surprised. Continuity, 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 continuity. According to the forecast, it will be up to 30 degrees Celsius today. According to the weather forecast, the temperature will go up to 30 degrees Celsius. According to the weather forecast, it is expected to be 30 degrees Celsius today. According to the weather forecast, it is expected to be 30 degrees Celsius. The temperature will go up to 30 degrees. According to the weather forecast, the temperature will go up to 30 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees centigrade today. I have a bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. When I was a first grade student at the elementary school, I didn't know nothing. Everything was new for me, so I was so nervous. When I was a first grade student at elementary school, I didn't know nothing. I knew nothing about everything. Everything was new for me, so I was so nervous. I'm going to try the first grade of the Aiken test. I'm going to try the first grade of the Aiken test. I passed the first grade of the Aiken test in 2018. I passed the first grade of the Aiken test. First grade of the Aiken test. The grade 1 of the Aiken test. In 2018. I passed the first grade of the Aiken test. I passed the grade 1 of the Aiken test in 2018. I got the first grade of the Aiken test. I got the grade 1 of the Aiken test. I got the grade 1. I passed the first grade. 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 I passed the first grade of the Aiken test in 2018. I have a bachelor's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. When I was a first grade student at the elementary school, everything was new, so I was so nervous. How much is the temperature? How much is the temperature? How is the temperature there? How is the temperature there? How much is the temperature there? It is about 25 degrees Celsius. 25 degrees Celsius. 25 centigrade. 25 degrees centigrade. 25 degrees centigrade. Centigrade. How hot is it today? It about, according to the weather forecast, the temperature will go up to 30 degrees Celsius, 30 degrees centigrade, 30 degrees centigrade, centigrade, 30 degrees 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 centigrade, centigrade, 30 degrees centigrade, 30 degrees centigrade, 30 degrees centigrade. Centigrade, 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 30 degrees 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 centigrade, centigrade, 30 degrees centigrade, 30 degrees centigrade, 30 degrees centigrade. Fahrenheit. How hot is it in Fahrenheit? I'm not familiar with Fahrenheit. 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 Fahrenheit. How much is it in Fahrenheit? By the Fahrenheit. How much is it? How much is it in Fahrenheit? By the Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit. 32 degrees Fahrenheit. 32 degrees Fahrenheit. How much is it in Fahrenheit? How is the temperature in Fahrenheit? How much is the temperature in Fahrenheit? How much is the Fahrenheit? Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit. How much is it in Fahrenheit? How is the temperature in Fahrenheit? By the Fahrenheit. How is the temperature? How hot is the temperature in Fahrenheit? Fahrenheit. By the Fahrenheit. The bullet trains run so fast, so rapidly. So rapid. Shinkansen is so rapid. The bullet train is so fast. The bullet train is so fast. The bullet train is so fast. So rapid. New technologies are advancing so rapidly. Rapidly. Do you know the author who wrote the novel? I like all of the books written by the author. I like all of the books written by the author. I wanted to be a translator, but not now. I wanted to be a translator, but not now. I think translating jobs will be replaced by AIs or robots. But I wanted to be a translator. Translating the jobs might be displaced by AIs or robots. Many jobs will be displaced by AIs, machines, and robots. Many jobs will be displaced by robots, AIs, and machines. Many jobs have been displaced by machines. Many jobs have been displaced by machines. Many jobs will be displaced by machines, AIs, and robots. The vice president will displace the man as a new CEO. The vice president will displace the current CEO as a new CEO, Chief Executive Officer. LED lights have been displacing electric bulbs. 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 I need to replace electric bulbs with a new one. I need to replace electric bulbs with new ones. I need to replace the old electric bulbs with new ones. I need to replace the old electric bulbs with new ones. The current CEO was displaced by his son. The current CEO will be displaced by his son. The current CEO will be displaced by the son. Machines, AIs, and robots will displace many jobs. Machines, robots, and AIs will displace many jobs in the future. Machines, AIs, and robots are being displacing many jobs, some jobs. Machines, AIs, and robots are being displacing some jobs. The typhoon displaced many citizens in the region. The typhoon displaced many citizens in the region. The natural disaster displaced many citizens in the region. The natural disaster displaced many citizens in the region. The typhoon 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 displaced many citizens in the region. Machines, robots, and AIs are being displacing some jobs. Machines, robots, and AIs are displacing many jobs, and it will accelerate with time more and more. I'm afraid of that. I'm scared of that. I'm frightened of that. I think many people are frightened of that. I think many people are afraid of that. Many people are frightened of that, are scared of that. I don't want my jobs displaced by robots or AIs or machines. I don't want my jobs to be displaced by machines or AIs or machines. AIs. Electric cars have been displacing current petroleum car, gas-powered cars. Electric cars have been displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Electric powered cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Electric powered cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Electric powered cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Many jobs will be displaced by AI, machines, and robots. Already, some jobs are being displaced by machines, robots, and AIs. Some jobs are already being displaced by AIs, robots, and machines. I hope my jobs will not be displaced, but it will be. Many jobs will be displaced by AIs, machines, and robots. The current vice president will displace the current CEO as a new CEO. Some of the citizens were displaced by the tsunami warning. Some of the citizens were displaced by the typhoon. Some residents were displaced by the typhoon. The typhoon displaced many citizens in the region. The typhoon displaced many citizens in the region. Typhoon displaced many citizens in the region. The residents were displaced by the typhoon. 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 The citizens in the region were displaced by the typhoon. LED lights are displacing conventional electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electrical bulbs. LED lights are displacing electrical bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs, electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs, electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs. LED lights are displacing electric bulbs. The machines displace manual labors, some manual labors. The machines displace some of the manual labors. The machines displaced some of the manual labors. The machine displaced some of the manual labors. The machines are displacing some jobs, especially manual labors. The machines are displacing some jobs, some manual labors. The machines displaced some of the 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 manual labors. The machine displaced some of the manual labors. The machine displaced some of the manual labors. The machine displaced some of the manual labors. Electrical cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. EV cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Electric cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Electric-powered cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Electric-powered cars are displacing gas-powered cars. Electric-powered cars are displacing gas-powered cars gradually. Electric-powered cars are displacing gas-powered cars. 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 The residents living in the region were displaced by the tsunami warning. The residents in the region were displaced by the tsunami warning. The residents, citizens in the region, were displaced by typhoon. The residents in the region were displaced by typhoon. Typhoon displaced some of the citizens in the region. The typhoon displaced the citizens in the region. The typhoon displaced the citizens in the region. Typhoon displaced some of the citizens in the region. The displacement of gas-powered cars are happening gradually. The displacement of gas-powered cars are gradually happening. The displacement of gas-powered cars are happening gradually. The displacement, 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 the displacement, 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 displacement. Displacement. The displacement of old methods are happening. Underway. The displacement of old methods are underway. It's underway in any field. The displacement. The displacement of old methods is happening. The displacement of the house owners. The house owner is underway because of the construction of the highway. The displacement of some of the citizens living in the area is underway due to because of the construction of highway. The displacement of some of the residents in the area is underway because of the construction of expressway. The displacement of some of the citizens living in the area will be done soon because of the expressway construction. The displacement of the CEO will be done. The displacement, the displacement of the employees will be done in the near future. The displacement of air conditioner will be done tomorrow, so please see to it that there is nothing blocking on the course, okay? The displacement of the old air conditioners will be done tomorrow, so please make sure that there is nothing blocking the course on the way. The displacement of all the chairs will be done tomorrow, so please see to it that there is nothing blocking the course on the way. The displacement of old chairs will be done tomorrow. The displacement of the displays will be done tomorrow. The displacement of the displays on the display will be done tomorrow. The displacement of the employees will be done tomorrow. The displacement of citizens living in the area will be done because of the construction of an expressway. Displacement of some of the citizens living in the area will be done because of the construction of expressway. The displacement of the citizens living in the area will be done due to the construction of expressway. The displacement of the citizens living in the area will be done owing to the construction of expressway. The displacement of the citizens living in the area will be done on account of the construction of expressway. The companies with conventional methods are not thriving. On the other hand, the companies challenging new things are thriving now. Do you prefer conventional or new methods? Which do you prefer, conventional methods or new methods? The event was held conventionally. Many events were not held conventionally due to the pandemic. Many events were not held conventionally. 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 The festival was held conventionally, although it was in heavy rain. It was heavy rain. The festival was held conventionally, although it was raining so heavily. The convention center is under construction. The convention center is scheduled to be completed next year. The convention center is scheduled to be completed in June next year, so about 1 year from now. The convention center is scheduled to be open to the public next month. I have to make a speech in the convention. The building is also used for convention. The skyscraper is also used for convention. The flight has been cancelled due to the inclement weather. The flight has been cancelled owing to the inclement weather. The flight is due in 1 hour, so some of the people are waiting in front of the arrival gate. It's too early though. The flight is due in 1 hour. The flight is due in 1 hour. The payment is due by the due date written on the contract. The payment is due on the date written on the contract. I was obliged to cancel my trip due to the pandemic. business trip is due tomorrow. My business trip is due tomorrow. The event is due to be held conventionally this year. The event is due to be held conventionally this year. The flight is due in 1 hour. 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 The payment is due on the date written on the contract. The payment is due. The payment is due on June 22nd, June 25th. The flight is due in 30 minutes, so some people are waiting at the arrival gate. Some people arrive waiting at the arrival gate, waiting for their friends, lovers, or someone. My homework is due tomorrow. My assignment is due tomorrow. The appointment is due tomorrow. The appointment is due tomorrow. The appointment to meet the client is due tomorrow. The appointment to meet my client is due tomorrow. The payment is due by the end of the month. The payment is due by the end of the month. The payment is due on the end of this month. I especially like salmon in the sushi fish. I especially like hamburger in the food. I especially like ramen in Japanese food. I'm always special. He is always treated as a special. He is always treated as a special. I set aside some money for a rainy day, for a special occasion, for an special occasion. I put aside the exclusive wine bottle for a special occasion, for an special occasion, for an special occasion, for an special occasion. I set aside some of the money for an special occasion, for an special occasion, a special, a special, a special, a special, a special, special. What is the difference between a special and special? What is the difference between a special and special? What is the difference between a special and special? A special, a special, a special, a special, a special, a special. I usually open the bottle of the wine when it is a special, when it is a special event, when it is a special moment. I usually open the bottle of the fancy wine when it is a special. Do you think the economy is improving? I hope the economy will improve drastically. Staying in a guest house or hostel is economical way of mine. My economical way of traveling is to stay in hostel or guest house. My economical My economical way of traveling is to stay in a hostel or a guest house. The price of hostels or guest houses are usually cheaper than normal hotels. Do you do something economical things? Do you try something economical things? Do you do something economical things such as recycling your pet bottles or buy cheaper food, something like that? My economical way of traveling is to stay in a hostel or guest house. My economical way of traveling is to stay in a hostel or guest house. Economical, 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 economical. Staying in a hostel or guest house is economical for me. Do you think that staying in a hostel or guest house is economical? Staying in a hostel or guest house is economical for me. Staying in a hostel or guest house is economical for me. Staying in a hostel or guest house is economical for me. Economical, 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 economical. Wearing the same clothes by washing over and over again is economical. Wearing the same clothes by washing it again over and over again, time and time again, is economical. One of my friends majored in economics. Are you interested in economics? I'm not familiar with economic things, but I have interest in that. I have to study more about economic things. I have to learn more about economic things. I have to learn more about economic things. Economic. I want to be strong economically, as economically as Bill Gates. I want to be a person who has strong economic power. I want to be a person who has economic power. I want to be a person who has an economic power, who has an economic power. I want to be a person who has an economic power someday. I want to be a person who has an economic power as strongly as Bill Gates. Economic. Are you interested in economic things? Are you interested in economic things? I want to be a person who has an economic power, who has a strong economic power. I want to be a person who has as economic power as Bill Gates. I want to be a person who has an economic power as Bill Gates. If it were not for music, what the life would be like? What would the life 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 be like? If it were not for music, what the life would be like? What would the life be like? What would be the life like? What would the life be 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 like? If it were not for water, we could not live. If it were not for water, we could not live. We could not live. Were it not for water, we could not live. If it were not for natural disaster, it would be much better. If it were not for natural disasters, it would be much better. If it were not for natural disasters, it would be much better. If it were not for natural disasters, it would be much better. Were it not for natural disasters, it would be much better. If it were not for natural disasters, it would be much better. If it were not for natural disasters, it would be much better. If it were not for natural disasters, it would be much better. If it were not for natural disasters, it would be much better. It would be much better. If it had not been for your support, I could not have done it. If it had not been for your support, I could not have done it. I couldn't have accomplished it. If it had not been for your advice, I couldn't have done it. If it had not been for your help, I would have failed it. If it had not been for your help, I would have failed. If it had not been for your help, I would have been failed. I would have been failed. I would have been failed. I would have failed. I would have failed. If it had not been for your help, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it. If it had not been for your help, I couldn't have done it. If it had not been for your help, I couldn't have done it. If it had not been for your help, I would have failed. I would have failed. If it had not been for your help, I would have failed. I couldn't have done it. If it had not been for a convenience store near my house, I wouldn't have chosen that. I wouldn't have chosen the real estate. I wouldn't have chosen the apartment. If it had not been for a convenience store near the apartment where I live now, I wouldn't have chosen that. If it had not been for supermarkets nearby, I wouldn't have chosen that. I wouldn't have chosen the apartment. I wouldn't have chosen the apartment. I wouldn't have chosen the apartment. If it were not for your help, I couldn't do that. If it were not for that, we could not live. If it were not for public transportation, our life would be much harder. If it were not for public transportation, our life would be much harder. If it were not for music, our life would be boring. If it were not for public transportation, the life would be harder. If it had not been for planes, the travel would have taken longer, much longer, when we go to a foreign country. If it had not been for airplanes, the traveling across the world would take longer. If it had not been for airplanes. The traveling all over the world would take longer. If you were to meet the celebrity, would you ask him or her for the autograph? If you were to meet the celebrity, would you ask him or her the autograph? If you were to win the lottery, what would you use the money for? What would you use the money for? If you were to win the lottery, what would you do? What would you use the money for? What would you use the money for? What would you use the money for? If you should win the lottery, what would you use for the money? What would you use the money for? What would you use the money for? If you were to win the lottery, what would you use the money for? 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 If you were to drop your wallet on the street, it would be almost impossible to get it back. If you were to drop your wallet on the street, it would be almost impossible to get it back, have it back. If you were to fall behind, it would be almost impossible to catch up in the marathon. If you should meet him, could you tell him about the information? If you should meet him, could you tell him the information? If you should meet him, could you tell him the information? Could you inform him of the information? Should you meet him, could you inform him of the information? If I were to win the lottery, I would use the money for returning the debts first. If I were to win the lottery, I would use the money for my parents. If I were to win the lottery, I would use the money to help my parents. If I were to win the lottery, I would use the money for helping my family. If I were to win the lottery, I would help my parents to return their debts and the loans of the house. If I were to win the lottery, I would use the money for helping my parents returning the loans of the house. If you should meet my friends on the street, could you tell them about the information? Could you notify them of the information? If you should fail the examination, try it again. If you should fail the examination, you should try it. You should try it again. If you should fail the examination, you should try it again. If you should lose your way, if you should be lost in the middle of the nowhere, please call me and use a Google map. If you should be lost in the shopping center, Go to the customer service. I'd like to deliver a goal. 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 I delivered 2 of the goals last year, and one of them I failed. So I'd like to deliver a goal. Deliver the goal. Deliver the target. Deliver the target. Deliver the goal. I delivered 2 of the 3 goals last year, and I failed one. So this year, I'd like to deliver the last one. I'd like to deliver the last goal. I'd like to deliver the last goal. I'd like to deliver the one goal. Do you have a goal that you'd like to deliver? Are there some goals you'd like to deliver? Deliver a goal. Deliver a goal. Persist with that. I'd like to deliver a goal. 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 I'd like to deliver some goals. I'd like to deliver some goals. I'd like to deliver some goals this year. There are 3 goals I wanted to deliver. There were 3 goals that I wanted to deliver last year. I delivered 2 of the 3 goals, but I failed one. So I'd like to deliver the one goal. The last one goal. I'd like to deliver the last one goal. Deliver a 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 goal. I think only unique people can achieve landmark invention, landmark breakthroughs. I think only unique people can achieve something great breakthrough, landmark breakthroughs. I think only unique people can achieve landmark breakthrough, landmark breakthrough, landmark breakthrough. I think only unique people can achieve landmark breakthroughs. His invention is very landmark. His invention was very landmark. His invention is very landmark. His idea was very landmark. His ideas are always 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 landmark. Please have a rest before you overheat. Please have a rest before the cars overheat. Please have a rest. Please let the car have a rest before it overheats. Please let your car have a rest. Please let your car have a rest. Please let your car have a rest before it overheats. before it overheats, before it overheats, before it overheats. I sometimes overheat vegetables. You do too? I sometimes overheat my vegetables. I sometimes overheat my vegetables. I sometimes overheat the vegetables. I sometimes overheat vegetables. I sometimes overheat vegetables. I sometimes overheat vegetables. I sometimes overheat vegetables. Please do not overheat vegetables. Please watch out. Please do not overheat vegetables. Sorry, I already overheated. I'm sorry, I already overheated. Overheated the vegetables. I'm sorry, I already overheated the vegetables. I'm sorry, but I already overheated the vegetables. Overheated the vegetables. Overheated the vegetables. I'm sorry, but I already overheated the vegetables. Overheated the vegetables. Overheated the vegetables. Overheated. Overheated the vegetables. Overheated. Overheated the vegetables. Petroleum powers the cars. Petroleum powers the cars. Petroleum powers the cars. Electricity also powers EV cars. Electricity also powers the cars. Food and drinks power me. Food and drinks power human. Food and drinks power me. Gas powers the cars. Petroleum powers the cars. Petroleum powers the cars. Petroleum powers 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 cars. Fossil fuels power many machines. Fossil fuels power many vehicles. Where are you? I would ask him out. Where are you? I would ask her out. Where are you? I would ask her out. If I were you, I would ask her out. Where are you? I would ask him out. I would ask her out. Were I a bird, I would fly to your window. If I were a bird, I would fly to your window. I would fly to the window of your room. If I were a bird, I would fly to the window of your room. If I were a bird, I would enjoy flying in the sky and enjoy the view from the sky. Were I a bird, if I were a bird, I would enjoy overlooking the view from the sky, and I would visit tourist destinations and enjoy the viewing from the sky. If I were a bird. Were I a bird, I would enjoy overlooking the scenery from the sky. Were I a bird, I would enjoy looking over the view from the sky. Should you meet my friends on the street, please notify them of the information. Should you meet the boss, could you inform him of the information? Should you meet the boss, could you tell him about the information? Should you win the lottery, how would you use the money for? What would you use the money for? Had I got up 5 minutes earlier, I would have caught the train. I could have caught the trains. I would not have missed the trains. If I had left my house 5 minutes earlier, I could have caught the train. I could have caught the train. I could have got the train. I could have caught the train. I could have got the train. Had I left my house 50 minutes earlier, I could have caught the train. I could have got the train. Had I left my house just 5 minutes earlier, I wouldn't have missed the train. If I had left my house only 5 minutes earlier, I wouldn't have missed the train. Had I left my house 5 minutes earlier, I wouldn't have missed the train. Had I left my house 30 minutes earlier, I wouldn't have got into the traffic jam. Had I left my house 1 hour earlier, I wouldn't have got into the traffic jam. Had I left my house 1 hour earlier than usual, I wouldn't have got into the traffic jam. Had I taken the wrong route, I wouldn't be here now. Had I taken the wrong route, I couldn't have arrived in time. Had I taken the wrong route, I couldn't have arrived here in time. Had you followed your parents' advice, this accident would not have happened. Had you followed your parents' advice, this accident would not have happened. Had you followed your parents' advice, this accident would not have happened. Had I taken the wrong route, I would not be here now. Had I taken the first train, I would be in the hotel right now. Had I taken the right train, I would be at the destination already. If I had taken the first train, I would be at the destination already. Had I taken the first train, I would be at the office now. Had I taken the first train, I would be at the destination now. Had I gone to the different university, we couldn't have met. Had I gone to the different university, we couldn't have met. Had I gone to different university, we couldn't have met. If I had gone to a different university, we couldn't have met. Had I gone to a different university, we couldn't have met. Had I gone to a different university, we couldn't have met. Had I gone to a different university, we couldn't have met. Had I missed the train, I couldn't have reached the destination in time. Had I missed the last train, I couldn't go home. Had I missed the last train, I wouldn't have gone home. Had I missed the last train, I would have stayed in a capsule hotel. Had I missed the last train, I would have stayed in a guest house or hostel or somewhere else. Had I missed the last train, I would have stayed in a capsule hotel. If I had missed the last train, I would have stayed in a capsule hotel. Had I missed the last train, I would have stayed in a capsule hotel. Had I missed the last train, I would have stayed in a capsule hotel. If I had missed the last train, I would have stayed in a capsule hotel. Without anger, I could have achieved it. Without mistakes, we will not grow. Without mistakes, we will not grow. Thanks to the mistakes, we can grow. Without making mistakes, we will not grow. Without making mistakes, we will not grow. Without adversities, I couldn't have achieved it. Without adversity, we couldn't do such a big effort. Without adversities or difficulties, I couldn't have done it. Without adversities, we couldn't have done it. Without adversities, we couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it. Without your help, I couldn't have done it. Without your help, I won't be able to do that. Without my help, she cannot take the train. Without my help, she can't take the train. Without me, she can take the train. Without me, she can take the train. Without me, she can take the train. Without our help, babies cannot live. Without our help, without adults' help, babies cannot live. Without music, my life would be boring. Without music, my life would be boring. Without baseball, his life would be much different. Would have been much different. Without baseball, his life would be very different from what he is now. Without baseball, his life would be very different from what he is now. But for your advice, I couldn't have done it. But for your advice, I couldn't have done it. But for water, we could not live. 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 But for air, we could not live. But for TV, I could have concentrated on my study better. But for TV in my room, I could have concentrated on my study better, more. Without the internet, we could not have met each other. But for the airplanes, it would take longer to go abroad. But for airplanes, it would take much longer to go abroad. But for mistakes, we cannot grow. But for making mistakes, we cannot grow. But for mistakes, we cannot grow. Thanks to the lessons we learn, we can grow. Thanks to the lessons we learn, we can grow. But for water, we could not live. But for music, my life would be boring. But for baseball, his life would be much different from what he is now. But for baseball, he would not exist. But for a convenience store near my apartment, I would not live here. But for a convenience store near my house, I would not live here. But for a convenience store near the apartment, I would not have chosen that. But for a convenience store near the apartment, I would not have chosen that. But for the fairness, I would have challenged that. But for the fairness, I would have challenged that. I would have tried that. But for the pandemic, I would have gone to a foreign country. But for the pandemic, I would have gone to the country immediately. Without your help, I couldn't have done it. Without your help, I couldn't have done it. Without you, I cannot live. Without you, I cannot live. Without me, she cannot take the train. Without textbook, he cannot operate the machine. Without the textbook, without the manual, she cannot operate the machine. But for the water, we could not live. But for the water, we could not live. But for the water, we could not live. But for your advice, I couldn't have done it. I couldn't have achieved it. But for your support, I couldn't have done it. But for your support, I would have failed that. But for your support, I would have failed that. But for your support, I would have failed that. But for your help, I would have failed that. But for your help, I would have failed that. I would have failed that. I would have failed that. But for money system, what life would be like? What would the life be like? What would the world be like? But for the money system, what would the world be like? But for water, we could not live. But for water, we could not have lived. But for the concert, I would not have gone to Tokyo. But for the special event in Tokyo, I would not have gone to Tokyo. But for a special occasion, I would not go to Tokyo. But for a special event, I will not go to Tokyo. But for a special event, I will not go to Tokyo. But for a special event, I will not go to Tokyo. Okay, I will finish speaking here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. See you.